Hola y bienvenidos a El Acelerador de Equipos. Yo soy Diego Sánchez, tu anfitrión en este viaje a la mejora de tu equipo. En cada episodio exploraremos estrategias, compartiremos experiencias y descubriremos claves para llevar a tu equipo al alto rendimiento. Y bueno, vamos, porque esos equipos no se van a acelerar solos. ¡Comencemos! Thanks again and welcome to this your podcast, El Acelerador de Equipos. Yes, this is happening in English, so let's pause a little bit. Sí, lo siento, lo estamos grabando en inglés porque hoy mi invitado habla inglés y bueno, pues lo haremos de esta manera en esta ocasión, pero no te deprimas, puedes ir inmediatamente y escuchar el siguiente episodio en donde te voy a compartir, o ya te estoy compartiendo, pues mis aprendizajes acerca de esto. But if you are able to listen and understand English, so you're welcome. You're very, very welcome. And this is my first episode in English because I have a very interesting guest here, and because I wanted to talk about some basics, so to understand better the human being, and then I get to know Nakula Das. Actually, because we have a coachee in common,
Yeah.
Carlos Cerceña. I sent you a very big hug because you make this possible. And he actually works with leader, mostly men, to master the sexual energy. And actually, that's because that sounds very interesting to me, and that helps them to get their objectives, to get their goals, actually to get success. So it's I think this is very interesting for me, very interesting for all the audience. So welcome, very, very, very welcome, Nakula, here to this your podcast, El Acelerador de Equipos, the Team Accelerator.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this is my first Spanish speaking podcast dominantly. I can't speak a word of Spanish, so I won't insult anybody, but I do appreciate you doing an English podcast, and I appreciate your audience, accommodating for me. I think it's going to be, well, I know it's going to be super valuable, and there's going to be a lot of great stuff that we're going to pull out from the conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I actually look forward for it like for a very long time. So this is happening, and I'm very happy about it. So like let's hit the topic because we wanted to do this very agile. I want to understand first because I have like this very big question in my head. Why do why do humans beings, men and women, we are looking to become leaders? Because actually, if you think about that, it's not that smart. Actually, if you see, I don't know, yeah, I actually know that in the states, presidents, I don't want to talk about politics, but
Mhm.
uh, um, presidents, when they enter to the job, they start like very like young people, like very smiling, and then when it ends, they I don't know, they get old like 10 or 15 years. So it doesn't sound that smart to want to become a leader, because there are a lot, you need to have a lot of energy, a lot of conversations, understanding people. It's not that smart. So why do you think we are looking for those kind of positions?
Yeah, well, from a men's perspective, I mean, I can give you like all kinds of altruistic reasons, or we want to serve the world, we want to do well, we want to make an impact, and all of those things are there. I'm not diminishing that, but at a core base desire, we acquire leadership positions generally based upon an egoistic desire for status,
Mm-hmm.
um, and status is a big driving of human nature. And my position specifically over my years of experience doing different spiritual practice and personal development is just be truthful about what actually drives you. And so there's a few base things that drive us. One is the need to eat, and the other is the need to reproduce. And both of those underneath that comes from a deep need to survive. The species needs to survive, therefore the individual needs to survive. And these things largely drive us at an unconscious level. So I think that leadership from one perspective is it's a way to get status for a man. If he's president, CEO, he's on the
Mhm.
billboard, he's got a podcast, he's seen, he's known, that gives him some social clout, and this gives him some influence and impact. And we are social creatures, we are pack animals. We're driven to be together, we're driven to in relationship, and we also therefore need leadership. Leadership is not a luxury, it's a life requirement, and everybody is leading at their own way and their own levels. First of all, we lead ourselves with by the choices and decisions that we make, by the information we engage in each and every single day. We're leading ourselves, we're leading our own lives, we're leading our families, we're leading our kids, communities, businesses, congregations, and nations. And the world is global now. So now we have global leaders showing up, people who are making global impact. And that's the beauty of the world and the internet today. It's changed. We're no longer just individual nations, but we are truly a global world, and we are interacting. Look at me and you, we're interacting in different cultures, we're transcending culture, we're transcending time and space, and we're now leading each other at a global level. So I think that leadership is not necessarily something that we should look at as a luxury, but rather as built into the basic human desire to want to grow, expand, and ultimately want to you know, get our place and secure our place in the food chain, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing because when you think about, I don't know, wolves or lions, then there's always a male that wants to become the alpha, and that's because he got like the best opportunity to eat and also to procreate. No, so it's very natural for us to want to upscale in that pyramid. So I'm understanding that you're like concreting this topic of leadership more as a need that desire. No, you need to lead yourself. You need to lead maybe your small group, and then maybe become like a major leader or something. You talk about we are pack animals, and we're talking for we talked first about what makes us want to lead. But there's always the other part, the followers.
Sure.
And I think that we can have a very interesting um, conversation about that. What make us follow someone? What makes attractive for us to follow someone in any practice?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, it comes down to, again, basic desires, basic instincts. We get born into a family and we need to know how to survive. We need to know how to operate in the social, cultural circumstances that we find ourselves in. And so, by nature's design, we look to our parents generally as our first leaders, the people that we naturally follow. Then we tend to look to, social circles or authority figures, your principal, your teacher, the policeman, right? The politician, these types of folks who are established authority figures within the structure of our society. And then from there, we look at social circles, friends, in our teenage years, we're looking at our friends and such. And then depending on what vocation that we choose or how we want to serve in the world or what we're deciding to do with our lives, we look to those around us to give us an image of what it should look like or how else can it be done. So you can see that information is always coming in from the outside. So leadership is, again, it's a built-in thing. You could say I'm not a leader. It's not true. Everybody's a leader if you're because every day you're interacting with someone, and by your character, by your example, by your level of integrity, you're leading, you're influencing. And why do we choose leaders? Because ultimately we all know that while we can be a leader, we're simultaneously a follower,
Mhm.
right? And they're one and the same. The teacher is a student, the student is a teacher, the leader is a follower, the follower is a leader. We're all cooperating, we're all interdependent. And so I think it's just a natural understanding that we look to leaders to take us places and to give us certain results. And that's if we're consciously looking at leaders. What happens for most people is because it's an unconscious based desire,
Mhm.
they don't recognize that they're looking for a leader. They're looking for a role model, a celebrity. They're looking based upon their own desire or where they feel they're lacking. Maybe that guy shows strength and I feel I want more strength. So you begin to follow them because there's some quality within that individual that you feel is necessary, is needed, or you want to invoke within yourself. Now, if you consciously choose your leaders and you consciously choose the people around you, that's a great thing because you can put smart, strong, stable, reliable, high integrity people around you, which is going to make for some really great harmonious relationships, which is going to be great for your family life. It's going to be great for your professional life. It's going to be great for your overall quality of life. The quality of life that we have is directly linked to the quality of relationships that we develop. Now, when we unconsciously, which is again, most people, they unconsciously choose leaders, they don't recognize that who you follow, you get their results. So they might follow mom and dad, and that's great when they're kids. But if mom and dad grew up with bad money habits,
Yeah.
then next thing you know, the kid has bad money habits. They've unconsciously chosen a leader. They go to their broke uncle and say, how do I lead an organization? And broke uncle, who's been out of work for the last 15 years, is like, let me tell you how to lead the country. And the guy can't, lead his own life. Right. We all know the person who wants to start revolution, but they've got things at home that need to be taken care of. And I've been guilty of that as well, wanting to change the world, change the government, change you know, change the culture. And it's like, great, can you do it for yourself? Can you, because you can only lead to the degree in which you lead yourself. And people unconsciously will only choose a leader in which they see some quality within that leader in which they feel is necessary or they want more of.
Yeah, you talk about conscience or making this unconscious decisions or this unconscious exploration because I think our brain it's very funny because it always thinks it has the answers. No, if I need to know about leadership, then I go to my to what I remember, and then I try to get the best that I have over there. But we make that automatically. It is not very conscious. So and that word resonates a lot right now in the moment you were speaking because I think we have like a lack of consciousness um, generally. So if I want, you said something very interesting. If I identify I need a role model for this objective or for another objective, I will look for it. But and I will ask you about your practice. Um, how you help people in order to get more conscious about what they need, what they look for, because I also coach people, and I think this is like a very, very, very big topic because we're like in an automatic pilot
Yeah.
almost all the time. So what do you think about that? Look for consciousness in most people and mostly leaders.
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, it's like, what is consciousness? At a simple level, we could say just consciousness is awareness. If I'm conscious of something, I'm aware of it. If I'm unconscious of it, I'm not aware of it. What we should first recognize is that we operate 90 to 95% of our day, as you said, on autopilot, on an unconscious level. I'm sure everybody knows the experience. They might not admit it, but they know the experience where they drive home, they park their car at home, and then they go, geez, how did I get here? You're right. And how many unconscious people are on the highway right now? It'll make you nervous to drive, right?
I don't want to drive anymore, but
That's right. Yeah. You're like, I'll take the
thankfully
bus. Yeah.
notice
That's right. So you actually think about, but actually it's part of it's a good thing in sense of we don't want to be conscious of everything. It's what allows us to free up our energy to have higher philosophical discussions, for us to even sit here and talk about leadership and consciousness and explore what that means. It means that there's some things we've taken care of, and it's good it's running on autopilot, right? It's kind of like automation in a business. It's
Yeah,
right.
for
It's
sure.
like it's efficient. So we have developed into the most efficient piece of technology. This human form, this body is the most sophisticated piece of technology on the planet. But we tend to not to look at it that way. We look at the iPhone as the most sophisticated, or the latest, AI is now the most sophisticated thing. But no, the most sophisticated thing is your own human body and its interaction with the environment around it. So the first thing is to recognize that 90 to 95% of our life is unconscious. So I present the question to all my students, what if we were to make it 90% or 85% or 80%? Maybe we don't get all the way to 100% consciousness and we call you Buddha or the enlightened one, or we give you some holy name because of that. But you become progressively more and more aware. So it's like, well, how do you do that, right? That was the question. Well, how do you actually help somebody become more conscious? It's like, well, first, the person has to have a level of awareness already where they go, I think there's a parts of me that are probably running the show that I haven't really worked on. Maybe I've worked great on my communication skills. I've worked great on spreadsheets. I've worked great on automation. I know how to use AI really great. But do I know how to program myself? Do I know how to up level or upgrade myself in the same way I can upgrade my iPhone, right? Can I upgrade this? And the answer is yes. And we're the only species on the planet that can do it from within. Meaning we can upgrade the dog, but we have to train the dog. So the dog is dependent on us. We're the only species on the planet that can make an internal decision to say, you know what? I'm going to course correct that behavior. I'm going to show up differently. Now, this is consciousness. So like yourself, I've been a coach and trainer for a decade. I've coached thousands of people around the world, all walks of life. But there's some universal truths about everybody, every culture, every religion. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your politics are. It doesn't matter. There are some universal things. And one universal thing is that 90 to 95% of your life is being run unconsciously. The second thing is every human being can make the individual choice to become conscious or to start to reprogram and course correct the way that they show up in life. And what I've done after my decade is what I've discovered, and it was first introduced to me by the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, chapter 11, The Mystery of Sex Transmutation, that if you want to really shift yourself at a big level, you want like a serious transformation, caterpillar to butterfly story, control two things. Shift your consciousness and bring your awareness around these two things. Number one, sex desire. Number two, food desire. Because at a base level, that's what it's all about. What are we going to eat? And when am I going to get laid?
The basic of the basic.
Basics. And everything else is essentially stacked upon that. You started with the question, why do we pursue leadership? Well, in the lens of basic instincts, we pursue leadership because it secures both food and sex more securely for ourselves and family.
Yeah, the higher we are, it's easier for us to get that for us or for the people who we love that is around us. So and now that you're talking about the body, we are talking about a lot of emotion. I think that we are mostly emotional beings, and consciousness is about thinking. So this alignment of these three concepts, I understand that it's very interesting. No, it's don't let your emotion and your body take take care of everything. You have to be conscious about it. You have to think about it. What do you think about this alignment, and what can we do in order to make these three concepts, these three parts of an integral human being be aligned and help us to get our objectives and actually to be to be well.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be happy or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So there's a universal law called the law of correspondence, right? In the Bible, it talks about as within, so without. These teachings are there in different spiritual traditions around the world, wisdom traditions, wise books, Marcus Aurelius, they all agree. This is one of those things that universally, while there's so many different religions and political ideas, universally everybody agrees that you become what you think about. Every major religion has that concept somewhere in it, and they all agree, yeah, you become what you think about, that there is power in the way that you think. And if you want any aspect of your life to shift, you have to shift the way you think. That's the law of correspondence. As within, it so then reflects without. Meaning, if you want to know how you think about money, look at your financial situation. It's showing you, it's revealing. You want to know how you think about health? Look at your health situation. It's revealing. Now, not what you would like to think. This is what most people, they'll defend themselves and be like, no, I believe in health, but yet you have unhealthy habits. So you would like to believe in health, but what you actually believe at an unconscious level is the habits or actions that you take. So the actions or habits that we take are revealing of what's actually going on. So it's the first place to become aware. How do we actually create this to live a more fulfilling life, a more, essentially a more influential life and a more happy life? Is we first recognize that the mind, body, and we'll call it spirit or energy, the intention, are corresponding. While they're distinctly different, the body is different than the mind is different than the intention, but they correspond. Just like if I was to stand in front of a mirror, me and the mirror are distinctly different, but we're communicating, we're reflective of each other. That's what the correspondence means. So whatever is showing up in the body is corresponding in the mind, which is corresponding to our original intention. So the key is to make your intention conscious. So the way that I do this, and the way Napoleon Hill describes it, is through a process called autosuggestion. Every day, review your goals. Do you know that only roughly about 3% of the world has written down goals in which they review on a daily and weekly basis?
No, that's that's shocking, but I can believe it's true for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. They happen to be the most successful 3% of the world that has this done. Meaning 97% of the world don't have an internal direction in which they've consciously set for themselves. You just born into a situation, die in that situation. That is the destiny for 97 people, for the masses. Leaders rise above that and decide that they are going to consciously make a difference in their life, shape their life. And the first way to do it is you have to make it born in mind, because everything we see that's human made in this world first started off in somebody's mind, right? Microphones, iPhones. This is Steve Jobs' mind we're holding,
Yeah.
right? And so once we make that intention and have that set, then we need to translate that into mental habits or mental power, focusing on it. And this is where we need to control the basic instincts. Here's where most people are going to lose the game. Everybody knows people set goals. New Year's resolution, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. In January, we almost there, so it's gonna happen. And
That's right.
then in March or February, that is going to not happen.
That's right.
So that's very common. I can understand the first part that you're saying, that you have to know what you want, and I actually think that a lot of people knows or thinks they know what they want, but they are not willing to do what they need to do in order to get it.
Well,
I think you're going over there, right?
that's right. That's right. And just to add to the point, I'm with you. I believe most people generally know what they want. Actually, again, I've worked with thousands of people. Almost everybody wants the exact same thing, variations of the same thing. We all want to be loved. We all want to be you have a life of some meaning or purpose. We want to be valued. We want to be respect. Like human desires. I always tell people your goals aren't what make you special or unique or a leader. Everybody's got goals. What makes you special, unique, or a leader is your commitment to those goals and your
Yeah.
behaviors to achieve those goals, because that's what's going to set you apart. That's what's going to make you a leader, is that you're a person of action and not just a thinker. But it starts in thinking. And then I was just going to make a point there when you said that people largely believe what they want. I do. However, I challenge that most people that I've talked to or that I've worked with, and one of the biggest, let's say, clarity points that my
Mhm.
students get is they get crystal clear and they have to make decisions, real decisions, which means burn your ships. You know the story, right? Of burning the
Yeah.
ships, right? Like you have to burn your ships. You have to decide means CIDE, like suicide, pesticide, homicide. Decide, it means to cut off.
Yeah, for
Cut
sure.
off the option to fail, cut off the option that I might do this for a little while, see how it goes, wishy washy. What most people have is wishes, not goals. They haven't decided to make it a
Mhm.
reality. That's the first step. Make your vision, then take your vision and then break it down into actionable goals. We're familiar with the SMART system,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time based.
Yeah, it's not the same to say it. I want to be fit, and
Right.
that's it. You need to know how much weight you want to have, what you must have, how muscles, how many fat in your body will be allowed. That
That's
that
right.
that changes a lot,
Yeah,
because it doesn't make it. First is the first thing is like a dream, and then it's an actionable plan, right?
that's right. So we have to go from it starts as a dream, then we have to go for actionable plan. Then number two, right? This is going into how do we make that a reality now? Because most people they don't stick it out. And this is because they don't control number two, the mind, and number three, the body. You see, the body only cares about a couple things:
Yeah, you
eating,
said it.
sleeping, mating. That's it. It's just so once it has those two things fulfilled,
That's it.
that's it. It's good. Now, the mind has more needs. It has needs like status and recognition, wanting to be impactful. That's of the mind. And the spirit or the soul has a need to serve, to grow, to expand. That's why there's a part of you that's like, I want to grow and make a change and make a difference in this world and lead my organization to new heights and innovate. That's your soul. That's your spirit. The mind is in between, taking instruction from either the spirit, the intention, or the body. And the body's just saying, get laid, eat something,
Eat that cake.
eat that cake. Right. So here comes the mental game in practice, which is, which one are you feeding? Are you feeding what we're calling the soul, the intention, the spirit, the part of you that wants to grow and expand and is fearless? That's the part that these big leaders, they're tapped into. Whether no matter your political opinion, in my opinion, there's at least I have an admiration for anyone who puts themselves out at that level,
Yeah.
because wow, look at the courage that takes. Like, to actually stand for something, to want something, to believe in something at that level where you are willing to put your life on the line. I mean, I'll tell you, because I ran in the Canadian federal election, in the last federal election for member of parliament, and I got a little glimpse of life in politics and running and being smeared by the
Okay.
media, and all of that's happened to me. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most enlivening and empowering things that's ever happened to me, because it
Okay.
allowed me to face the biggest fear in the world, which is the fear of criticism. And this is what holds so many of us back. So, in the mind, we have to start to develop mental habits, mental patterns, and thought processes that support the vision that you've created for yourself. That's why it starts with a vision. Because if you don't have a vision, you don't have to give your mind you don't give your mind any instruction. Therefore, the mind will naturally take the easiest and lowest path, which is just eat more and be driven to, pleasurable activities and comfortable activities. But
Yeah, for sure.
what we lose is in touch with our like kid-like spirit that wants to go and, conquer the world in a way, right? In our own ways.
Yeah, but and I think that's the big challenge, right? Because our I understand that our brains, our bodies just want to be alive,
Mm-hmm.
and also to have like some energy, resources at hand, because they don't want to starve to death, right? And that's it. No,
That's
our
right.
body is that basic, but our mind is like a little bit more, I don't know, wide, but this thing that you call spirit or energy, or whatever, is it's what wants to make us like bigger or different or unique and helpful, and that alignment, I think it's I understand it's what we want to work, but I also understand this is challenging, right?
Yes, it's very,
um
yeah, it's challenging because again, we have to rise above our base desire and not just do the base. See, the base desire leads to base minimums. It's like I'll do enough to pay the bills, have a roof over my head, have a little
that's it.
TV, a little cerveza, a little, I have, a simple life, da 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 da. What it does is it just we will do enough to fulfill those base things, but we won't do anything above and beyond it. The problem with not going above beyond the base desires is that essentially, like, think about, the animal is also eating, like the worm, the pig, the bird, and the human. We're
Mhm.
all eating, we're all mating, we're all finding some comfort, we're all defending and taking care of our families, and so those are all at the animal bodily level of life. But in the human experience of life, we have creativity, architecture, art, culture, politics. We've organized, we've built civilizations. That's the potential of the human mind when it goes above and beyond base desires. So we have to, it's not that there's anything wrong with sex. It's not that's not the conversation. It's not that there's anything wrong with eating. It's not the conversation. It's just put them in their place. You know, have sex when it's time to have sex, have great sex, but stay away from the fake stuff, the pornography and the self-pleasuring and the, hookup culture that we have now that leads to nowhere but empty bank accounts, empty hearts, and empty souls, empty energy. It's just, there's nothing there. And so much of our world, like 20 to 35% of internet searches right now, is internet pornography.
That's how basic we are, right?
That's right. That's
Um,
how basic we are. Yep.
and I think that we are getting to a point. Yeah, those are the basic instincts that our body is telling us to follow, and then is understanding them, and actually give them some thought and then some meaning in order to become like a greater being, and also like a society of greater beings. No, I think that if
Yes.
we manage to help ourselves to become better, we are helping society to become better. And I
Yes.
think that's part of your
Well,
job, right?
that's right. Yeah, it's part of, yeah, it's actually, like, I always tell my teams and stuff that I work with, or my students, I say, your job isn't to do the job, your job is to improve the job.
Yeah.
Right? Your job is it's not just to show up and do the job. No, no, no. That's basic. That's base desire. That's, I just survive, I just do the job. No, leaders are innovators. What drives somebody to lead, in my experience, is a mixture of the base desires, but dovetail with a higher purpose. So what, and this is what Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich, when he called it sex transmutation, which is that he said there's three potentials of this base instinct of sex. One is the physical expression and the continuation of our species, you know. So we
Mhm.
must have sex to reproduce. We must also have sex as humans to connect and to, there's, to be intimate with somebody. So we have other reasons as human beings for having sex, but one of its expressions is the physical. The second expression is actually vital health. What we don't realize in our modern world, where, we live in a world of pornography and hookup culture and very illicit sexual, kind of content and behaviors and such, a very promiscuous society, is that there's actually a health benefit to being a little bit more controlled, a little bit more chaste, saving yourself for one person, doing it only in marriage. All of those older traditional values that are kind of being pushed aside, like kind of as passe, there's actually reasons of health and vitality and strength. And then the third potential is higher thought process. See, if your energy, 20%, about 20% of your energy, let's say you're a battery and you're using up energy throughout the day, about 20% is used up in thought forms, thought processes.
Mhm.
How much of that thought process at an unconscious level is driven by what am I going to eat and when am I going to get laid next? It's a
I think it's
huge,
a lot, a
yeah,
lot of
it's
it.
way more than people realize, because we're not it's happening at an unconscious level. We don't realize that's what's actually driving us. But for a person who knows that's what's driving them, they can start to use that same energy. And this is what Napoleon Hill called the mysteries of sex transmutation, because what he said and what we found to be true is, see, when a person is sexually stimulated, it puts them into a different, thought process, right? You think about how uninhibited somebody is, how vulnerable someone is in that act. It puts them into a very vulnerable place, but it puts them into a highly stimulated place. In fact, it's the number one stimulant for human beings, sex desire. Hence why pornography is such a hook for so many people, right? Because it's playing on your base desire. But pornography is not the way nature designed it to be. Hooking up everywhere is not the way. What that energy does is it says, I gotta get some food, and I gotta get, I gotta pre-produce. I have to get laid, right? Just to put it plainly. But because I'm not going to just act upon it, I'm going to do it in a higher way. What that energy does is it comes with all that stimulation and that creativity and that magnetism, and now you direct it to your higher vision. And that's what Napoleon Hill said. He said every man that is successful, and he interviewed thousands, did a 25-year study on success. He said every single one of them are highly sexed men and highly matured in their sexuality. What he means by sex means that they're not running around having lots of sex. He means that they have a highly stimulated sexual drive, but they've matured it to the fact that they're not just out there chasing women all day long, or chasing validation all day long. When they asked Winston Churchill why you're so successful, his answer was, because I got married, and while everybody else in Parliament is chasing women and pleasures, I'm running the country. Right?
So
Steve
it's a
Jobs Steve Jobs was known to practice something called non-ejaculatory sex, or a type of tantric sex, where he wouldn't ejaculate specifically so he wouldn't lose his drive. And this is documented in his autobiography. His partner said, yes, he would not ejaculate during sex. And he would say, I need that for my power, my drive, and my creativity. Sting, the famous singer, would practice the same thing. Muhammad Ali, when asked, what makes you the greatest? What makes you champion? His answer was, because I'm in bed at 9 p.m. alone. I dodge the parties and I dodge the women. And he said, think about it. We're all doing the same thing. He spars, I spar. I hit the bags, he hits the bags. I jump rope, he jumps rope. He said, what's the difference is that I don't waste my energy on pleasure. I'm on purpose. I have a purpose. I have a greater purpose. And so this is when someone can tap into this, they're tapping into a dormant power within them and an energy that will absolutely light them up and take them to whole different heights.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of it makes a lot of sense. I think it's about focusing. It's to get focus on the big deal. It's not get interrupted or distracted, but where the more basic instinct that your body or your emotions are telling you, right?
That's right.
So I just to make this a little more concrete, the first step is to have a vision and then translate them to actionable goals, or an actionable plan, and then you have to get aligned your mind, your body, and your spirit, and get focused on what is more important and transcendent.
That's right.
And for that, you have to be in charge of your mind and in charge of your body. That it sounds nice, sounds easy, but it's very challenging.
Yeah. Simple, but not easy. Right?
Yeah, for
Yeah. It's
sure.
simple. It's a go. That's
Yeah.
it. Actually, success. The secret to success is there's no secret. Right? The secret to success is there's no secret. Success leaves clues. It's a formula. It's like baking a cake. It starts with vision, desire, and that's why you can't deplete your desire, especially your sex desire. Your sex desire is your strongest desire. So if you're indulging in like pornography and self-pleasuring and you're wasting that desire, spending hours on your day of that, you're wasting your energy and you're wasting your drive and your creative life force to actually have solutions. And then that's why you have to have a program of personal development. Leadership and personal development to me are one and the same. Developing yourself into a stronger, more powerful, more influential leader is actually about leading yourself at a more conscious level, developing and being committed to a level of self-mastery that is above and beyond the status quo. And if you're willing to do that and dedicate yourself to mastering your sexual energy, your food, so you get the basics down, you eat enough, you have a regulated or controlled sexual experience in life that's healthy, you're going to notice you're going to free up a ton of energy and a ton of thought power to go to the higher aspects of life. And that's what's actually going to drive more fulfillment. Because why so many people are walking around unfulfilled is they're fulfilling their base desires, but not their mental or soul's desire.
Okay, and that's that's why that's very challenging.
That's right.
Because it's easier to listen to the body and do whatever it thinks, or it feels
Yeah.
that it needs in that same moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we have like a very nice but longer conversation that we thought,
Yeah.
but I cannot finish this conversation without asking you, and I hope you remember and you think about what we talked the last time. I want you to help me to challenge my audience, to let them uh, some homework, some task, some conversation, whatever you want, in order to help them to get better as leaders or persons. So it is time for me to say the word in English for the first time here in my podcast, but it's time for you to help me to challenge. So please, Nakula, help me with some action that anyone who is listening to this can do in order to make themselves better.
All right. The challenge is this: if you are misusing your sexual energy in any way, and I'm going to define that as indulging in pornography or self pleasure or unethical relationships. Right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And everybody could sit with their consciousness and knows, right? Deal with that. And I directly help people in those scenarios and with those, sexual, challenges and use of sexual energy. The reason why I put that challenge out to you is because that is stopping you at such a deep level from really tapping into your true potential. So that's one thing. And the second thing that I want to put out as a challenge is, if you don't have written down goals and set intentions for the next 5 or 10 years of your life, then go do that immediately. That is literally, when the podcast stops, that is the next step. Because when you write down a 10-year goal and a definite purpose that you want to create, you will have entered the 3% of the world if you constantly review it. But why not enter that? It's such a simple thing to do. But because it's simple to do, it's simple not to do. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'm still not clear. No, do it right away and enter the 3%. You'll feel amazing right as soon as you're done.
Okay, so you went hard. We went hard on it. That this is not like a very easy challenges, but this is a challenge. That's the idea, right?
That's right.
To
Challenges aren't supposed to be easy.
yeah. Thank you very much for helping me with this. I don't know which one is it's more difficult, but let's see. And if you who are listening to this accepted the challenge, please let us know how you did it there in our social media. And just the one last question, Kula. If we have been talking for 45 minutes, if someone asks you, what's the most important part of thing or takeaway of this conversation, what would it be?
For me, I think the point that I want to drive home, that I hope everybody takes away, is that it's worth knowing more about your basic instincts and how the desire for sex influences your psychology and shapes the way you see the world.
Okay, great. Yeah, I like that part of understanding our basics and take charge of it. It's not just to say that's the way I am, that's the way I wired. No, it's that's the way I'm wired, and I'm going to change things, or I'm gonna act differently, right?
That's right.
So that's it. That's it for today. Thank you very much, Nicola. First of all, but thank you for being my first guest in English.
Nice.
Thank you again for deal with my lame English, but thank you very much for that.
No, you're awesome.
I
Better
know
than my Spanish, I'm telling you that.
it's good to know,
Yeah.
and great for all your openness. Um, to share everything you know, everything you do with all the people who is listening to us. So thank you, thank you very much.
Thank
Um,
you.
and if someone wants to know more about you, wants to reach you, want to have you, I know you make some coaching one-on-ones. You also give some speeches. I don't know if someone wants to know more about you. Where can they find you?
Yeah, they can go to nakuladas.com, and that's the best place because it's like a hub. You can connect with my different social medias. I'm active on, all social media platforms. I've got a great YouTube channel. So nakuladas.com, you've got the free sex transmutation guide if you want to learn more about the subject, and you can connect with me or my team directly.
Okay, thank you very much. I also will put the website and the notes of the podcast if you are listening to this, and I think in whatever platform I can do that. So let's reach Nakula if you want to know something about that. And if you want to listen in Spanish, my takeaways from this conversation, let's go and listen to the next episode because I will share that immediately. So you will have like 2 episodes in one for this time. So thank you very much, Nakula, and thank you everyone who is listening to us for this first time in English. And let me know if you like this, if you want me to have more guests in English, and whatever you want to share with me. Thank you very much. Y así cerramos este episodio de El Acelerador de Equipos. ¿Quieres más aceleración? No dudes en seguirme en Instagram como @DiegoSánchezTeam o en LinkedIn como Diego Sánchez Recendis para obtener contenido adicional y además mantenernos en contacto. Si te sirvió este episodio, compártelo por favor con líderes que busquen acelerar sus equipos al éxito.